Okay, so I wanted to do a little video, and Jack Bado from Project Tour School has been posting some really good stuff on Instagram. Jack's a really good friend of mine and really knowledgeable with 3D biomechanics, works with a lot of the top guys with his players, knows his stuff, and he's been talking recently on Instagram about the head motion that some tour pros demonstrate of coming into impact as the head moving backwards and upwards, so moving away from the target and moving up. I wanted to just go through the forces and torques, the foot action and the ground reaction to the feet and their actions into the ground, and how that would contribute and also facilitate a movement of the head up and back. Okay, I have a dual 3D force plate system made by GASP, and it measures dynamically 3 linear forces: right left force, heel to toe force, and vertical force. These 3 linear forces affect 2 key torques that are measured. One is frontal plane torque and the other is horizontal plane torque. On the left hand side you can see a circle. I've put that circle starting roughly from the middle of my body. Think of that being a windmill. So as I reference direction, the direction the windmill is going to turn and its torque, I'm looking at the windmill from this position, from the outside looking in. Okay, so an anti-clockwise turn in the windmill would be in this direction, and a clockwise turn would be in this direction. At setup, my arms and the club are like a blade of the windmill, pointing vertically down, straight down to a 6 o'clock position. Frontal plane torque, the windmill turning, what is it and how does it help the golfer in the backswing? So through 2D visuals here on the left hand side video, 3D plate visuals here with the vectors and the center of mass both in vertical location and then it projected down onto the ground, I can show you visually how that windmill is turning and what direction and what is influencing it. And then we've obviously got the graphs over here as well, the frontal plane torque graph on the right hand side. So this torque, this twist, helps the golfer move the arms, hands and club in backswing in a clockwise fashion and lift the arms. It aids, the torque aids the lift of the arms to the top of the backswing. Obviously forces preceding the motion, so what we are seeing in the graph on the right hand side as I move the club away is a drop into negative as I'm applying a clockwise torque and twisting the windmill to move the club. Around this point here we see that that graph goes into 0, hits the baseline of 0 and starts to go into positive. So this is me now applying a force in the opposite direction to change the direction of the club. So this anti-clockwise direction, forces preceding the motion, is beginning to ramp up, okay, and climb. It reaches its peak here, the change of direction around the transition mark in my position of the swing, and then it's going to rapidly accelerate to aid the drop of the arms down, the club down towards the golf ball, and we can see as that line starts to drop and it goes into negative, and where I strike the golf ball at its peak in negative here. So that's influenced by 2 linear forces. What's really cool with GASP system and the dual force plates is this 3D graphic of the plate. So just to give you just an overview briefly of this then, so we've got the center of mass location in its vertical position and then projected down to the ground. We've got the left foot vertical force, we've got the right foot vertical force here, the grey arrow, and then the combined vertical force is the red arrow or vector. So effectively contributions from green and from grey are going to effectively create this red arrow. The red arrow and its direction, angle to the ground from this view, is influenced by left-right force, making that arrow drop this way. It's angled towards the right foot, or right-left force, making the arrow drop towards the target and towards the left foot. Okay, so what's really cool is this visual, and as I play the swing you can see, so now we can see that left-right force just influencing the direction of the combined vertical force vector there. So we see that tip away from the target and start to point to the right of the center of mass there, and then the right foot vertical is going to then start to climb and grow that red arrow up slightly. So that's our clockwise torque. So that's turning the windmill in that clockwise fashion to aid the backswing direction. So then as we get halfway back, we can start to see the change of direction now, the forces that are influencing the frontal plane torque. So right-left force is going to start to drop the red arrow and start to lower it towards the ground, increasing the moment arm. And then as we grow the left vertical force, the lead vertical force, the magnitude of that red arrow or vector is going to start to grow as it then really starts to ramp up that clockwise direction in the windmill torque as I accelerate my arms down and towards the golf ball. So that's your kind of your windmill torque and how it works on the backswing, on the forward swing. So the second torque that is generated and the forces that are needed to turn that cog and create that torque is horizontal plane torque. So as I proceed into the downswing, my body is rotating towards the target, and you can see this is really starting to ramp up at its peak between 4 and 5. Before I get to arm parallel on the downswing, I'm really starting to ramp up my twisting or rotation of my body. So my feet are really pushing backwards and forwards to really start to rotate this yellow circle. Now I call this yellow circle a merry-go-round, and this view that I use in my studio, if I look down from the ceiling, look down, I'm standing on a child's merry-go-round. The two forces that are acting to spin this wheel is this forwards and backwards pushing of my feet. If I was standing on ice skates on ice, you know, if my feet were to frantically go forwards and backwards, there's no reaction from the ice, so I'm not getting that push backwards. So if I push this way, the ground forces me forwards. If I push through the front of my lead shoe and push my toes out of the front of my shoe in this direction of the red arrow, I'm going to get this blue reaction. So my foot action creates this ground reaction. As I start to move down and get towards halfway down at lead arm parallel at P5, we can really see that those two AP forces are starting to really push this arrow and drop this arrow down towards the ground. And you can see that here in this move here as I start to ramp that up and really drive it forwards from my lead side. So then as we get down past sort of around P5 and just beyond P5, so around 5.5, and it's slightly different with different golfers, we need to put the brakes on. The golfer needs to stop rotating. It's got very little time before impact, and this energy from the body, the kinetic chain of pelvis rotation, torso rotation, has to be delivered into the lead arm and the shaft and club. Okay, so the body is slowing down, and I'm doing that by pushing down onto my lead foot, straight down. Okay, so now the more I push down onto my lead foot and my left foot is kind of pushing across and I'm getting this reaction force back, you can see that this arrow is climbing upwards. The push vertical force of my lead foot measured on this graph here is spiking up before I get to P6 to stop my body rotating and to help contribute to this frontal plane torque, this windmill torque, which if I move it down to P5.5 here, you can start to see my head start to move backwards and upwards a fraction. Okay, so P5.5 into 6, my head is going up and back from this arrow pushing me. You can see this arrow here, how much it's going back and sort of away from target. If I just bring this in here, you can see now how that arrow is actually from right left force coming back from the ground this way away from target. It's dropping this arrow down towards the ground. My head is going to want to start to move back and move up. Okay, and depending on what club you've got and ball position and where you want your low point and strike on the face, we want that lead side to rise up, we want that trail side to drop down, to compress, and so then we can get that delivery of speed out to the club for impact. Okay, they are the two key torques, both frontal plane, the windmill turning, and the horizontal plane torque, the merry-go-round spinning. They are the two key torques that are contributing to that motion of the upper body as we get into impact. So, elaborated a little bit on Jack's fantastic post on Instagram, showing you how the feet and their actions into the ground and how then the ground reacts to that action from the feet, and then how the body then is going to want to move in those directions as we swing down into and post impact into a finished position.
Thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate your support with the channel. Please like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos, and click on the notifications icon so that when you log on to YouTube, you see my new videos when I release them. Thank you very much. You guys are great.